And I'm going to start Facebook Live. 1 second. Here we go. We'll kick it off.
Hi, Tremaine. Just wanted to say hello.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you? I'm sorry I missed the practice chat this morning.
No worries, no worries.
All right, well, it's 6 o'clock, and so I just want to welcome everybody to this evening's chat with the chief. And I just want to let everybody know that if you're joining us in Zoom, we're going to ask you to put your comments and questions into the chat box, and we will respond to your questions there. And if you are joining us on Facebook, we'll be monitoring that as well, and we'll get to your questions from there. If you've missed other chats and you want to watch some of those, you can always go to the Rohnert Park YouTube channel. We've got prior chats there. So we have captioning available, and we also have Spanish translation. So Lupe, I'm going to send it over to you.
Thank you. Buenas noches, bienvenidos al chateo con el jefe de policía. Por favor, dale la bienvenida a Tremaine Austin Dillon, nuestro anfitrión de esta noche. Si tiene alguna pregunta, por favor, use la función de chat. And now I will turn it over to you, Tremaine.
Thank you so much. Good evening. How's everybody doing out there? I want to thank the City of Rohnert Park and the Department of Public Safety for inviting me to host this chat with the chief. I'm really excited. I feel like this is a big honor. A few things about me, for those of you that may not know, I'm pro-Black, pro-brown, pro-choice, pro-gay, pro-trans. I'm also a city planning commissioner here in the city of Rohnert Park, and I work in the Office of the President at Sonoma State University, and I've lived in Rohnert Park for about 8 years. And so I'm really excited to be here. How are you doing, Chief Matos? How's it going?
I am doing well. I always look forward to every other Tuesday evening. So yeah, it's a good day. We got a lot done today. So thank you for asking.
You're looking good. You're looking sharp. I see you all decked out, looking official.
Yeah, well, you know,
uniform.
I always tell people one of the main reasons I got into this profession is I didn't have to pick out my clothes, right? I just get to wear this uniform every day, and I don't have to make sure things match. But no, I'm very proud of the uniform. I've been doing this for almost 32 years, and I think that the uniform represents to me the ability to do good things for people and the ability to be someone who people can count on and trust. So I take a lot of pride in wearing a uniform, and so you'll see me in it most of the time when I'm at work.
Well, you wear it well. All right. So my first question, how was your Valentine's Day? Okay. And did you do anything special to celebrate?
No, of course, wish my lovely spouse and my daughter happy Valentine's Day. I'm in a situation where I'm not home every night because of just working, and so I made sure I wish them a happy Valentine's Day. We really spent it on our daughter, make sure that she woke up and had a good day. She did, got off to a good start. So yeah.
Love that. Yeah, like let's start with love, love's the key. So I appreciate that. Something that I enjoy knowing about people that kind of gets me just a little insight, right, is zodiac signs, astrology. So I'm curious, what is your zodiac sign? Do you know?
Sagittarius.
You're a Sagittarius, my fire sign friend. I love it.
Yeah, I think it depends on what because I think I make it by one day, at November 23rd, and I think the cutoff is the 22nd. So
you're on the cusp. Okay, just made it. Yeah. But you're still all fire. I appreciate that. As a fellow fire sign, I'm an Aries, and so that's some good chemistry. So I love hearing that about yourself. Sagittarius, cool. Another question that helps me kind of get to know somebody is, would you describe yourself as a rock, a tree, or a cloud, and why? So when you think about a rock, a tree, or cloud, which one of those best represents you?
That's a good question. I can see a little bit of myself in all of them, but I think probably more a tree.
Okay.
If I had to say, because, I think a tree provides protection from the elements sometimes. I think, just the cover, I think it also can, because it moves and blows, can bring in new ideas and create movement. But the main thing is the flexibility.
Mm.
Because they can blow and they can bend and they can move, right? I probably see the flexibility mostly in myself. I think that's a quality I have, is I'm pretty flexible.
I love that. I love that.
Not like toe touches flexible, right? Not that kind of flexible, but in decision and listening to people. So.
I mean, all is good. If you can bend over and touch your toes, there's a lot of good things to be said about that. You're flexible, you're nimble, you're agile. All of that is good stuff. So I love hearing that. I like to think of myself as a cloud. I tend to float. I tend to go to different places. I tend to dream a lot of fantasy things that could be, I'm a drifter. More recently, as I've gotten older, I've become more of a rock. And I kind of struggled with that because I was like, wow, I'm really solid. I'm really grounded. And I was used to being that drifter person. So I go back and forth with that.
Yeah, I think that's okay though. I think that, right, being flexible.
That's right.
So I actually thought about the rock when you first said it, because I'm the oldest son, and I seem to people call me when they're like having issues or troubles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like maybe I'm their rock, right? Or but then a cloud, I also thought, because you can absorb stuff and you can take it in. So
that's a whole nother layer. There you go. I love it. The elements. Okay, so this is something else that I like to ask people because it lets me know who you are, like your inner child. Frosted Flakes, Lucky Charms, or Raisin Bran. What you got?
Ooh, Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms. Okay, why Lucky Charms?
Oh man, I grew up with those little marshmallows, man. Yeah. Anything that had candy in it, right? Most colorful box, probably. I don't know.
Looking for that rainbow, huh?
I would pick Lucky Charms over anything.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I was a Frosted Flakes. Tony the Tiger got me.
Tony the Tiger.
Tony the Tiger got me, and that was the thing. It was cool to be Tony the Tiger. I wanted my Frosted Flakes.
Yep.
So I want to know, what is your ethnicity? How do you describe your racial identity?
I am Portuguese.
Portuguese. Okay.
I come from a very long. I mean, I was telling somebody the other day that when my great-great-grandfather and family came over from the Azores, they came through Ellis Island, and in the Azores, when they were married, they took the lady's last name. So when they came to America, they took Matos back. They took my great-great-grandfather's last name back. Otherwise, I'd be Tim Teixeira. that was our name there. But yeah, I mean, I grew up in a very strong, deep Portuguese family. Grew up on a dairy. I mean, that's what the Portuguese did when they came out. They started dairies, and my dad is full Portuguese. My mom, Irish, English, right?
Okay.
But yeah, I've if you ask anybody from my hometown, Tim Matos, they'll say, "Oh yeah, he's Portuguese." That's my ethnic background.
Okay. Now, did you grow up experiencing food that was in relation to being Portuguese? How did that show up in your day-to-day life?
Well, as I say, from the day I could walk, I was in the barn. We had a huge dairy, and so I grew up working on a dairy farm. We made our own linguiça. We grew our own animals. The Portuguese have this celebration called a fiesta, and they have the men's fiesta, the women's fiesta, and then the juntas, which is the celebration of all. And my family always had the recipe, as they said. So I grew up cooking these Portuguese meals. Until my grandfather and great uncle passed away. was in the Portuguese hall every few months cooking. And so,
Wow.
and the farm I grew up on was 3 houses. It was my family's house, my parents and us 4 children, my great uncle's house and their kids, and then my grandparents' house. I mean, we had buzzers and would walk to the porch and talk to each other. That's how close the houses were.
Wow.
When
That's an amazing setup for a family.
Yeah, when my parents were gone working, I was still being raised by my grandparents and my great uncle. I mean, so real strong influence there. And I always tell people I didn't learn a lot of Portuguese, but probably just the bad words that my grandfather said when he smashed his finger or something, right? So I don't know a lot of Portuguese, but I know just enough to get me in trouble.
Oh yeah, just enough to be dangerous, as they say, huh? That's awesome. That's so cool to hear that. So I'm gonna move into the section of my questions that I have here that are really about the city and public safety and kind of things that I want to know your thoughts on. So I was chatting with some friends, I'll just say that. And one of them mentioned, shout out to that friend, mentioned that there's an ordinance banning hookah in Rohnert Park. Now, I wasn't too familiar, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that. A, is that true? And then B, what does that look like and why?
I would actually have to read the ordinance. Because we don't have any hookah establishments in the city, I've never really even looked to see if there was an ordinance.
Have you ever been to a hookah bar by any chance? Because I
Well,
have.
Yeah, so when I was in another city, the hookah lounges came up. They wanted to put a hookah lounge in there, and so did research on it because of course they wanted to know what the police department thought about it. But so I'm familiar with them, and but I've never been into one because it fell through in the other city. But I am familiar with hookah lounges and
I love a good hookah lounge. Just saying, the community that it brings, the vibes, the good food. It's such a great time, a great thing to maybe put in downtown. I'm seeing that vision of this awesome lounge, so just something to think about.
Yeah.
What are some innovative ways the Department of Public Safety is addressing the high percentage of the unhoused in Rohnert Park? What does that look like? How is public safety involved in that?
So the subject of the unhoused is a daily conversation, not only in public safety, but in the city whole. The city has tried to address it by hiring additional employees who are now assigned just to unhoused. We've just hired a new code enforcement officer. We've hired a homeless outreach specialist. We've got our housing specialist working on it. We also have contracted with Catholic Charities to bring them in to get resources to them. We're trying to assist with the SAFE team, although that's not their primary duty. The SAFE team does assist there. Public safety. So we have what's called the Homeless Task Force in our city, and it's made up of city employees, and it has high level members from every department. If it's not a department head, it's a second in that department, putting our heads together, trying to figure out how to address these homeless issues. We also got a grant or a money for Home Key recently, and we'll be putting some transitional housing up. I think it's 62 or 67 units, somewhere in there. I mean, but every single day we are trying to address this unhoused issue. I look at it out my window every morning and every day. There's an encampment right across the parking lot from my window.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not immune from it. We're right in the middle of it. We just spent hundreds of hours trying to address the issue on Roberts Lake Road.
Okay.
Because that was getting to be dangerous for everybody involved, for the unhoused, for the people walking, biking, driving on that road, using the park, right? So those are tough decisions, right? It's like, people want to say, well, you moved them out there just to move them back. Well, at the time, that was the best option, right? And then we had to look and reevaluate, and now this is the best option.
Right.
We also have the
Plans
house.
change. Plans can change. Right.
Exactly. And needs changed, right? And
Right.
so we also have the Homeless Roundtable, which is a community-based program where we invite the community to come and give their ideas and be part of finding a solution. Because we're fighting with it every day. Every city around us is fighting with it. Last week I attended the California Police Chiefs Conference, and it was the main topic down there. There were sessions on homeless, and then after the sessions, and we were just out, at dinner or whatever, that's a topic. It's everywhere. And it's unfortunately, it's until we can get more housing, get more places to put people, we're gonna be dealing with them on the street.
There's a question in the chat from Facebook that says, how can you address the homeless without addressing the drugs? What do you think about that?
Well, I think that there's no doubt that substance abuse amongst our unhoused is a major problem. And the substance use you've got your substance abuse, you've got your mental health issues, right? Those are two issues that really prevent people from accepting help and going into housing when it is available, right? So yes, we have to address that. But we also, one of the things that the philosophy prior, a few years back, was we'll get you into housing, but first we have to get you clean.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll get you into housing. Well, first we have to get you sober, right? And what we found was that doesn't work. You can't get people clean and sober without a stable living environment. And so they were fighting against each other. So, one of the newer models that's come out recently over the last couple of years is housing first, right? Mm-hmm. Just get them into housing and work on getting them clean and sober once you can get them in a stable environment. But the person with the question is absolutely right. It just exacerbates the problem.
Right.
And I will tell you that, and I've said it before on this, Prop 47, Prop 57, when they were passed a few years ago, they really decriminalized a lot of the stuff that's going on out there.
Yep.
When we used to take a baggie of methamphetamine off somebody, it was a felony. They went to jail, right? At least it got them in the system, right? They might not have gotten in big trouble the first time, the second time, but maybe the third time, then they started having to go to rehab and, getting forced in there. Well, you know what we do now, right? When we find someone with a baggie of methamphetamine, we write them a ticket.
You write them a ticket. Okay.
It's a misdemeanor now. Possession of heroin, possession of cocaine, right? It's all misdemeanor. So it is definitely kind of a revolving door. We write them the ticket, we take their drugs away. That's what we can do, right? And then they got to go back. They got to steal to get more to feed their habit. So it's a vicious cycle. So yes, substance abuse is a major issue in the homeless, and figuring out a way to address it while we're addressing the homeless is something we're trying to do.
It's a very complex issue that I think it sounds like the city is doing a lot. So hopefully people can actually hear that in what you describe, because it's very complex. But since that Facebook user brought up drugs, we might as well talk about marijuana. Why not? So what are your thoughts on the legalization of marijuana in California and other states, as you all know? What are some of the pros, some of the cons? How do you think this is going to impact the state and the world?
Well, growing up, we always heard that marijuana was the gateway drug, right? And, I think that does have some truth. It's, people experiment with marijuana and some do move on to other stuff. So you're always going to have that issue. With the legalization, you can listen to several people. They'll give you both sides, right? It's better than alcohol. It's the same as alcohol, right? Alcohol is legal. And I'm not saying that, alcohol is great for people. So I don't want, when you're comparing, but I know cities who have opened dispensaries, and they are seeing increases in some crime. I don't know that they've been able to tie it back to dispensaries yet. But my issue with the legalization of marijuana is that the cart was put before the horse.
Okay.
That went on the ballot. And I don't know, the state got caught kind of flat-footed because they tried to pass it, that was tried to pass, I think, 2 years earlier, right? And it didn't, it fell short. Well, anybody should have known it was gonna come back, right? And be back on the ballot. And where they went wrong the first time, it was gonna be fixed. So over the next couple of years from that, it was going to pass at some point. But the state really didn't get out in front of it and they're just now developing the enforcement arm. They're just now developing the group that goes out and inspects these places, the groups that oversees them. And how long has marijuana been legalized? So I don't think that we were ready for it to come, as far as having the necessary oversight and logistics in place to handle it. That's where I think that we as a state messed up with legalizing it. So, I will tell you, I believe there's more use amongst youth and the younger generation, because it's almost like by legalizing it, we said it's okay. This is not a dangerous drug anymore.
Right.
And so, I think there's a lot of people driving under the influence because they could smoke it in their house and then get out and run to the store, right? So and really you're only supposed to be able to smoke it in your residence or at your residence, right? But
is that really enforced?
Well, I mean, how do you enforce it?
Yeah,
Really?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah.
We stop somebody if they're, if they got a lit joint in their car, we're gonna enforce it. But the other thing was DUIs, marijuana DUIs are really difficult because we have the blood alcohol limit for alcohol, right? But with marijuana, there was never, it gets legalized, more people are smoking it, but there wasn't a system in place to test what's in your system at the time.
Right.
There wasn't even.
Yeah, that's a great point too. Yeah.
We don't even know what the limit is. Is there a magic number?
Right. So, Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Right.
My mom always tells me about how marijuana doesn't look and smell the same as it used to when she was growing up. And so from her perspective, it's become this laboratory experiment that is doing only God knows what, right, to our bodies and to the environment. And so from her perspective, it's like, it's just not the same. And so,
you also have, if you talk to the people who are doing it right, they're following all the laws, they're paying for the permits, right? They're doing everything that you're supposed to do to have a legalized marijuana grow commercially. They're saying they can't afford it. They're getting undercut by the people growing it illegally, right? And so you're almost creating this issue between the ones that want to do it right, but if they do it right, they can't afford to do it right, and they're getting undercut by the people doing it wrong. So, and like you said, who knows what they're using to grow it or how they're growing it. It's not regulated. So yeah, I just hope, we don't have we don't get a bad run of it and people get hurt. But speaking of drugs, my fear is the fentanyl, right? That's what's out there right now. The fentanyl, people, getting marijuana cigarette laced with fentanyl or getting meth.
What exactly is fentanyl? What is that?
Well, it's a very strong narcotic. It's an opiate.
Okay.
And, there's, I know the county's looking at really doing a campaign to show that. I saw a picture the other day and it showed a penny. And next to the penny, there was just this very tiny amount of fentanyl. I mean, maybe 1/50th of the penny size.
Mm-hmm.
And it said that amount of fentanyl will kill. Right. And so it's a very dangerous drug. People are buying drugs not knowing that it has fentanyl or been laced with fentanyl or it's touched fentanyl, and the overdose rate in this county and state is just astronomical because of fentanyl. That's the drug. That's the scary drug out there right now.
That's the one, huh? Okay. Well, we're going to stay away from that. Thank you for that. That was very educational. I learned way more than I thought I was. How do you feel when you hear the phrase Black Lives Matter? What does that mean to you?
It means there's a lot of things it means. I'd see, because I understand, I understand what the meaning of that was, but, when I think back to where that, after George Floyd and some of the other unfortunate incidents.
Breonna Taylor.
Exactly. And there were the marches in the street. I can think of the marches that I saw where people were marching and they were carrying the sign, Black Lives Matter. They were wearing the shirts, basically saying, hey, we want to be treated equal. We want to be looked at as equal. We deserve that, right? But there was a message there. And then I have the visions of people under the guise of Black Lives Matter breaking out store windows and vandalizing and stealing and looting, right? And so there's all these different images about it, right? And it's like that group kind of took away from the group that was trying to really send the message, in my opinion. But I'm probably I'm a little naive because everybody's life has always mattered to me. So the movement a while back with the Missouri shooting with Mr. Brown, you started hearing that, and then it kind of went away, right? Because the legislature came in and did some stuff and kind of calmed it, and this happens again, and we hear this again, and I really listened to it, and I thought, and it's more than when you think about it, Black Lives Matter, right? And then we went into the violence with the Asians, right? And the attacks on the Asian people. It's like, what are we doing, people?
The thing about Black Lives Matter, the thing that's so important about that is that historically, right, this country has acted like Black lives don't matter, right? And so we're naming that they do, right? And that's all it is. And so the fact that we name it and we let everybody know that, it doesn't negate that other lives don't matter, but you're going to know that Black lives do matter, right? And so that's really what it is. So when you have a history that is so compounded with racism and anti-Blackness, you have to combat it, head on, name it. And it makes people uncomfortable, especially white people get really uncomfortable with that. And that's good, right? And we want them to be uncomfortable. Because we feel like that's the only way that change can actually happen, right? And so thanks for sharing your perspective on that. What does Black History Month mean to you? It is Black History Month right now, but what does that mean to you as a police chief in Rohnert Park? I mean, less than 2% Black people, not everybody feels welcomed in some ways. What does that mean to you?
It's if we're not looking right now to see during this time of Black History Month and seeing the heritage and seeing the history, right? I mean, what you just said, this, Black Lives Matters because people have not believed they matter to this. And so look back at the history and figure it out so we can educate ourselves to figure out why there is a group of people who are trying to say we matter, right? And this is a great time to do it, but it's also a great time to celebrate that culture. I met a large group of individuals last week. We had a great time. We got together and broke bread. Met a lot.
It was a party.
Yeah, exactly. Met a lot of amazing people, and just I walked away from there thinking, man, there's some dynamite individuals out there. I enjoyed meeting them so much, and I walked away thinking, no one should be afraid to drive through Rohnert Park. No one should be afraid to walk in Rohnert Park. But I think when when you're talking about Black History Month, it is a time to celebrate the people and how we got here, but it's also an opportunity for us to educate and learn about that culture and, why they feel how they feel and why they're just asking to be, to matter. So.
Yes, I think Black History Month is a great time for everybody to come together, right? Everyone needs to be at the table. Everyone needs to be present. And we need to showcase Black excellence, right? Actually learn about Black people who have contributed to this world, and really take the time to think about them during this month, but carry that throughout the year, right? Carry it throughout the rest of the entire year and forever. And so hopefully those experiences happen for your officers. I don't know, what kind of programming, is there any programming or special attention paid to months like Black History Month as a public safety department?
Well, I can tell you that barbecue that we had last week was for Black History Month. That's what started that conversation. Michael and I, he said Black History Month is in February. And I said, then let's get together and celebrate it together, right? So that was the first thing, we were able to do.
Nice.
And, I will tell you that I did not order my staff to be there. I said, hey.
They came out. It was well represented.
They did. I said, hey, I'm going to be here. We're doing this with this group, MSI, and I'd love to see you come out. And I never said you have to come out. You're ordered to come out. Just I'd love to see you come out. And in fact, I think I said I'd love to see you there, right? And so we had a great turnout, and people are still talking about it in the agency today. Some of the people they met out there, and I met this guy. We actually went to the same high school, or I played ball under the same coach, and it's like, yeah,
all
it's
kind of connections. Yes.
When you start talking to people, find out you have a lot more in common than you thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was great, but we are, if we didn't learn anything from the last year and a half, then we deserve to be looked down upon. But I think this last year and a half has showed us that we really have to be open to new ideas and look for ways to get out and interact with our community outside these uniforms and outside our normal duties. And so that's one of the things we're really trying to do.
Well, I hope that event comes back again soon. Maybe we do it before Black History Month, but it was really positive and felt good. People are still talking about it. Shout out to Michael London and the Male Success Initiative, MSI at Sonoma State. Got the students there. It was a great community-wide event. So
just on that note, real quick, I'll tell you that Michael and I, we stay in touch. At least every other day, right? He actually FaceTimed me from New York today.
Yes, I got so I get a text, you get a FaceTime. Okay. All right.
So I said, where are you at, Michael? He says, I'm in New York. He's walking down the street in New York, FaceTime. So
that's awesome. I really like that. Yep. Shout out to London. All right. Still sticking with the city here. I'm curious, what do Rohnert Park has about 2% Black people in its population here. And I'm curious, do you think there's a difference in how you or those approach a situation when it's a Black suspect from a white suspect? What are some of those differences?
I don't think, I haven't seen it, right? I preach that we treat everybody with professionalism and respect. I haven't seen that. I would not tolerate something like that, because I don't think we don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe I would see that in complaints that come in, right? People have a voice out there, and people let me know when they feel they've been wronged or they've been, we treated them poorly.
Sometimes though, when it's racism or discrimination, people don't feel comfortable because they feel like it's like nothing's going to be done, right? So they just keep it to themselves. And unfortunately,
yeah, you're so that's the problem. Is that's really one of the metrics I have to measure it with.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not getting that metric, it makes it really tough. I can only go by what I'm seeing with my eyes, and I know how I treat everybody, and I'm out there a lot, and I pull up on calls, and I see how my officers are treating people. But that is really one of the main reasons why we're so excited about getting this community public safety roundtable together, because I need to give people a safe place
To be
that
able to
they
communicate
feel they
that.
can
Yeah.
come and tell me in a
Say
safe.
more about that group. That sounds like an awesome group.
Yeah, so I actually sent some information over to the city manager. We're trying to get it all together. It's one of the 9 recommendations that we made to council for police, community relations, and accountability. And it's called the Communities Public Safety Roundtable. And so we're going to put together a group of about between 10 and 14 people from the community who represent the diverse community, right? That don't feel they have a voice or might not have a voice. And they're going to meet with me. Once we get together, we'll figure out, do we want to meet monthly, every other month? How do you want to meet? And they're going to meet with me personally. And it's going to be a discussion where I get to listen to people from the diverse groups, from the diverse neighborhoods in our community, tell me how we're doing at policing and what we can do better. And I'm hoping to get people on that roundtable who other people see as a leader in their community and go to tell the story so that the stories can get to me, right? And I think as we build that and we build that trust, more people will feel comfortable coming straight to me, right? So that we don't have that issue of yeah, I feel I was treated wrong, but I don't feel I get a fair shake.
The
right?
system's not going to do anything.
Right,
You
but
know?
we want to change that, and I want to
Absolutely. Yeah.
seriously open it up and say, come on in, let's sit down. I'm here to listen, not talk, and tell me what I'm doing right out there and tell me what I'm doing wrong. In fact, let's just work on what I'm doing wrong, right? Because I don't have to fix what I'm
And
doing wrong.
Chief, as nice as you look in that uniform, you show up in plain clothes, you're gonna break down so many barriers. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Like, because that uniform, although it looks like it signals something, it gets people tight, and So I think that's probably going to be key. No guns, no uniform. People are going to open up and see you just like we saw you at the barbecue, right?
Yeah.
I think that's it. That's it.
Well, and that's good advice, because whatever I can do to create a positive and open and safe environment, that's what I want to do, because I really do want to start figuring out.
I see it. Every
right?
time you talk, I actually think you mean what you say. And so that's why I'm here. So I appreciate that, because I actually do think that that's something that you do want to see differently. I've seen you talk in various settings, so I appreciate it. So I want to talk about accountability, because I feel like that is a part of that piece of the puzzle that I think sometimes we don't see always. And we, the greater we, Black people, people in general. So what does accountability look like in your department, specifically when it comes to complaints about bias or discrimination? And just in general, what does that look like?
When I got here 3 years ago, one of the things that I talked about during the testing and interviewing process was accountability. I truly believe in it. I believe that discipline is truly to change behavior, right? And so when I got here, there were a lot of things going on in the city. I will tell you, we were on the front page a lot, and so knowing that we had to bring accountability into the department, and basically it's as when I grew up, I always believed that there was a rule, and if you broke a rule, there was a consequence. That's growing up in a Portuguese family. That's how it worked, right?
Yeah.
And that kept me out of trouble, right? And I believe that when we have rules and we have expectations, when people don't follow them, they have to be held accountable. That doesn't mean chopping off their head, right? That means, how do we fix this, and how do we make this so it doesn't happen again? And how do we make this a learning environment so that we can build you up and make you better? Now, there are people out there who I'm not going to be able to do that with, and we may have to take another direction, right? But we are very, very big on accountability here. And I have very few expectations, right? I don't tell someone you have to write this many tickets a week, or you have to make this many arrests a week.
Well, that's good to know. I'm gonna I need to record that one.
We don't have anything like that. My expectation is that you're proactive, and you are in your beat, and you are out of your cars talking to people, and that my main ones, that you're treating everybody with the utmost respect and professionalism. That's back to basics for me, respect and professionalism, right? And so, but if you don't, right, if I get a complaint and they come in, we pull the body camera and we look at them. And I will tell you that there's sometimes we look at the body camera and the officer really, they followed policy. They didn't do necessarily anything wrong, right?
Mhm.
But we look at it and say, but why did the person complain, right? What's the perception? And then we go back and we say, you know, that could have come off the wrong way there, right? Maybe that wasn't a good verbiage to use, right? So maybe next time try this approach. So even when we say technically you didn't do anything wrong, you didn't violate any policy, but you know, we could probably get better, because if that person drove away with a negative perception, there's something that happened in that contact that we could probably improve upon. And so
usually, like, I don't know a whole lot about police work, but in those interactions, it's that implicit bias, right? Are you familiar?
Yes.
Has your office done any training on that? Because I imagine that's a piece of what's coming up, right? You know, they're seeing someone and they're like, they're up to no good, but they're not doing anything. They just happen to be Black, you know? So,
you know, it's we have done a lot of training on implicit bias, because I mean, we had to, right? We had to start understanding, because I myself am walking around and go, I'm not biased, right? And I got people who are saying I'm not biased, right? And then, but it's like, well, then why is this discussion? And so we brought some people in to do some implicit bias training.
Okay.
I will tell you that I walked out of that room embarrassed for myself, right? Because I realize that I have implicit biases built in, and they're not bad, right? They're not horrible, but you know, I realize that when I look at something, there's based on my being raised or whatever, I instantly form opinions, right? And so a lot of the training that we're doing is to just say, listen, everybody has implicit biases. Everybody, right? It's ingrained. We just have it. Okay. The key is not to let those implicit biases lead you in what you do. So, you know,
put them in check. Put them in check.
I've worked really hard to just take that deep breath, accept it, and then try to move into the situation more clear-minded, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's been probably some of the best training I've gotten in my career, just because I went into it thinking I don't have these, and was showing that, well, everybody has them.
That's right.
You gotta learn to work with them in a positive manner. So,
and the other layer to that is knowing that other people have them, you might have a different approach to your work and how you think about things, right? Like, you show up in uniform knowing that, you know, somebody might have an implicit bias just because you're a cop, and they're reacting a certain way because of that, you know what I mean? So hopefully it teaches both sides how to have a little bit more patience, a little bit more understanding. So that's really good.
You know, when we got the SAFE team, you know, the specialized assistance for everyone, basically the CAHOOTS model, SAFE team, which is our mental health response, right? One of the reasons we really wanted to bring that to the city was because it's an alternative response to mental health, right? And you're exactly right. Showing up in this uniform takes mental health issues to a new level, right? And we realize, then don't send people in this uniform.
That's right. That's right.
Right, because that's just going to exacerbate the situation. So we are law enforcement's been around for hundreds of years, and we are still learning. And I think what the last year and a half to 2 years has taught us is that we thought we cornered the market on this, but we have a long way to go. We have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Right? And as long as we're open to learning and listening, we'll get better. We close our ears and say, we don't need to know, we do it right, we know how to do it. we're going backwards, right? But I will tell you that being at that Cal Chiefs conference and talk, over like 400 chiefs down there, we're all talking about the same thing. Hey, we got to keep getting better, right? This is the new age of law enforcement. People have different expectations of us, and we got to get better. We got to listen to them. So
I love that.
oh yeah.
Get better. And as Stephanie Rule says, get smarter. Okay. I want to go a little darker, no pun intended, but have you ever killed someone on duty, and what was the circumstance?
I have not. I take, and I know that I've met a lot of officers who have been officer involved shootings. They are pretty traumatic. So I never second guess or judge them, but I take great pride in the fact that, I've been doing this job 32 years now, and I have pulled my firearm, and I have been in some very tense situations, but have been able to get through them without firing my weapon. I think there's, a lot more officers do that like me than go through, officer involved shootings. But so no, I haven't. And I feel fortunate.
Absolutely.
Because, no one ever knows how you would react to it afterwards. Right. And so I'm glad that it wasn't something that I had to do, and maybe, it affected me losing my career or getting out of the career or something. So, but yeah, as you can see, I like to talk. So I usually come in situations trying to take them down, not trying to take them up. And so, yeah, to answer your question is no, and I take great pride in it.
Awesome. Awesome. What keeps you up at night?
The fear that something bad will happen because of a bad decision that we made.
Mm-hmm.
And we got great people here. I mean, we hire great people. We have a great process. I don't ever want to see my officers go through something they're going to be second guessed and put through the fire and possibly prosecuted because of a situation that went sideways. That scares me, right? Because they trust me to keep them out of that situation, right? I provide them training and I hire good people so that they don't get in that situation. And on the other hand, the thought of a bad situation getting out of control and someone in this community losing their life or something bad happening to them because of the split seconds decisions people are making on both sides. So I will tell you that I sleep at night.
Good. We need you to sleep. Good.
With one eye open.
Okay.
But when the phone rings at 2 or 3 in the morning,
Right.
because that bad stuff usually happens.
Yep.
Right. I don't know what news is coming on the other end.
Yeah.
Usually if they call me at 2 or 3 in the morning, it was something major.
That's
right. Usually probably involved a firearm or a death. And so I'm worried I'm going to answer that phone and it's going to be, I lost one of my officers or we lost a community member to violence. That call's never good.
No.
So I sleep. I don't know if I'm in REM sleep because I'm always worried about that call coming in. But when it does come in, it's the adrenaline flows because I don't know what information's on the other end.
Man, wow. I sometimes think like that, and I don't have a job like yours. And so I can only imagine you actually have a job like that. That's a huge weight. What kind of legacy do you hope to leave, from your time here as chief of police in Rohnert Park? What will they say about Tim Meadows? What they gonna say?
I hope people just say that I was fair and I listened to the community and I listened to the officers. I hope the officers say that because I came in from the outside, right? You never know what you're getting when you bring someone in from the outside. But I hope the officers just say, you know, he was fair and he was honest and he worked hard. He never asked us to do anything he wasn't willing to or would do himself, right? Just and I hope the community says he opened his doors to us. He really wanted to hear what we had to say, and he gave us platforms and he listened to us. And you know, and he not only listened, but he tried to make changes to make the city safer and a better place to live. That's it.
That's what it is. And then we're going to have a building named after you.
I don't know, probably be some back street somewhere. That leads to nowhere, right?
Leads to nowhere. What name the turnaround? It'll be the turnaround.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Well, that's all my questions that I had. I don't know if there's any questions from the audience, any questions from you. I have enjoyed this time.
It is interesting. I got a because we have a Chiefs chat email that people can email questions, and and let me just make sure we didn't get any more. But I did get one today, and I was really happy because I'm usually the one that's getting all the questions, right? But I get to be the host for a second. So this gentleman, Paul, says, "How can a person become a university professor?" So I think that question's for you, not me.
That's for me. Okay. So I just want to say I am not a professor, FYI. So I'm going to give you a very unprofessor answer, and then you can Google it and get the real thing. That's my disclaimer. If you could scroll that. But anyway, professor. So I would say you have to start with a passion. That's the first thing, right? So what are you passionate about? What do you care about? What do you love? What do you like? What do you want to know more about? What are you curious about? And maybe that curiosity is a passion. And then I would say going to school, spending a lot of time in school, getting your bachelor's, getting your master's, getting a PhD, and hopefully becoming an expert at that thing that you are very curious about and that you are very passionate about, and learning everything about it and finding the gaps, like what's missing in this thing, right? What is missing in this topic? What's missing in the research? What's missing in the world's understanding of this thing? And then finding out that gap and filling in that gap, and then teaching other people about the thing that you found, right? And so start with your passion, start with what makes you curious, and then go back to school.
There you go. And then someone did ask about, they said masks will be dropping soon, and when will ride-alongs start? And so I am very excited about the fact that we are seeing a downturn in the pandemic and the positive cases, and that there is some relief coming, I believe, at 11:59 tonight with masks. I would just say be careful, you know.
Yeah.
And
but what does that mean? Grocery stores are still having it, right? As far as I know, like Safeway, I was reading, still has them. Target still has them.
So the individual stores and businesses can still require them, yes.
Okay.
And it comes down to like employers with 100 or more, I think, are still, employees have to wear them. But and then there's confusing because there's OSHA requirements and there's California Health Department, so they all blend, right? But yeah, as soon as we have like a no masking mandate, we are going to open up our ride-along program again. You know, tomorrow is week 3 of our community civilian academy. So we're really excited we were able to open that up. We are social distancing and everything, but yeah, I can't wait to get ride-alongs going again. So just keep an eye out. I tell you, it won't be a surprise. We'll put it out so everybody knows, because that's a constant question that comes up. So yeah.
Very popular program, huh?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Awesome. So,
and that's all the questions I have. I didn't see any more, but you're an amazing host. Thank you so much for volunteering because it's an unpaid position, right?
Unpaid, but I get paid in so many other ways. I feel like, I just want to thank everybody for your service. Thank you for the dialogue. Thank you for the conversation. And it says, what do you want to do for your retirement? That was the question. What do you want to do for retirement? Me? I'm so far away from retirement. I'm going to guess that is for you, Chief.
Well, when people hear when I say 32 years, they're like, well, you're still here then. But yeah, people give me a bad time. I could have retired a while, but I love the job. And so I'm still doing it. But when I retire, I don't know what I want to do. I have 7 grandchildren, so I know I want to spend time with them. I have 3 children, hope to spend time. One of them's 14, so I'm still raising her. But I know I won't sit still, so I will probably, maybe, I don't know, go into the corporate world a little bit and see what's out there. And not sure, but the thing I know is I've worked long enough that I don't have to work when I retire. And so whatever it is, it's going to be something I really want to do. I keep telling people I'm going to be a marshal on a golf course so I can marshal during the morning and play during the night. So I don't know.
Sounds like a good gig.
Yeah. So, but I think that's it. And again, man, amazing. Thank you so much.
Had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yes. All right.
All
right.
Everybody tuned in tonight, thank you for spending an hour with us again. We appreciate you giving up that hour is valuable. So thank you. And Tremaine, I'm gonna let you sign this thing off with your words of wisdom.
Keep having the conversation, keep talking, keep looking for that Valentine.
There you go.
All right. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.